Hi, YouTube. So, this is an exciting week. My sister's just graduated, and let's see what else is going on. Oh, that's right. I got my very first book signing in Bell Fountain. It's at a small convention. You can check out my Facebook page or Twitter page for more information. I'll be signing copies of my book Revolving Doors, and I'll probably doing a Q&A session too. Uh, I might also do a read out of my next book, Phantom Lock the Lost. So if you want to attend, that's great. It's free to get in, and if not, you can still get copies of Revolving Doors on my Amazon page. So today I want to do something a little bit different. Not talking about writing necessarily, but I want to talk about a particular character that I love very much, and that is Superman. I know I'm wearing a Flash T-shirt. This is sort of a last minute thing that I decided to do. I've been thinking about video topics all day, and I really wanted to do something comic booky because I really love comic books. And what better topic to discuss than my favorite character, Superman? So, those that have known me like a really long time know that I wasn't originally a fan of Superman. I actually didn't like the character much at all. I always thought that Superman was kind of, I don't know, there's just something about him that didn't really resonate with me at the time, and I resonated much more with Batman. I was very quiet and self-contained kid. I wasn't very outgoing, and I think that's why I was drawn towards Batman. And then I started uh, growing up and getting older, and really my first time I really kind of was pulled towards the whole Superman thing was when I saw Superman the movie for the very first time, and I believe it was the seventh grade, and something about that movie just kind of took me aback. It it was the directing, the storytelling, and most importantly, Christopher Reeve's portrayal of the character. I was blown away. Honestly, I was blown away by how rich he portrayed this character. He he sort of portrayed him as the ultimate good guy, but at the same time gave him some vulnerabilities as well. I mean, people say that Superman isn't relatable enough, but Chris Reeve kind of snuck it in there. It's like sure he's the ultimate good guy in the movies, and he's kind of cheesy, like he literally saves the cat out of a tree. But in Superman 2, Clark makes this decision to give up his powers so that he could be in love with Lois, so that he can be with Lois, an individual he loves, and that's very very human. And in the director's cut of Superman 2, he talks to his father about this, and I think this version is more powerful than what was released in the theaters, where he talked to his mother. It's been so long since I've seen that version that I don't even really remember it. But I think the talk between Chris Reeve and Marlon Brando is extremely powerful. And when Clark revokes his powers and then finds out that his father's enemies, General Zod, has come and basically taken over the earth, and he's realized that he's made this terrible mistake, and he's forsaken his birthright. That entire scene where he goes back to the Fortress of Solitude and basically begs his father for his powers back. It's extremely powerful acting. It's one of the best in any superhero movie. Really, it's it's just so powerful. I still get goosebumps when I've seen it. I've seen it hundreds of times. But it didn't stop with just the first two Superman movies, and even just Superman 3. I do like parts of Superman 3, and let's not even get started on Superman 4. As a great man once said, the less said about Superman 4, the better. But I think there are some things that are uh, that can be valued in Superman 3, but the first two were really what pushed me into the character. And then I started catching him on other things. So I looked at him through a different light in the Justice League cartoon, and liked him even more, and kind of understood his points of view. And I got to watch Lois and Clark. I loved Dean Cain's version where he's quoted for saying Clark Kent is who I am and Superman is what I can do, whereas in most of the other versions it's Superman is who he really is and Clark's the mask, but in Lois and Clark it's kind of flipped around. So I thought that was interesting. I think Dean Cain's Clark is probably one of the most relatable Clark Kents. He's not too much of a goofball. He's sort of just a normal guy more or less, but um, he's not so significant that people can pick him out as Superman. And I kind of got into Smallville. I started coming to the show late when one of the episodes of season it's 5 or 6, I can't remember, but I saw a preview that Aquaman was going to be on. I was like, okay, that's cool. I had never really had any interest in the show before, and so I watched it from season 5 until it ended on season 10. And I've always had mixed feelings about that show because I always thought Tom Welling's nothing against the actor, but I just think his portrayal was I always thought he was kind of a dick sometimes, and that's not who Superman is. And I get that he wasn't Superman yet, but Clark has always been a good person at heart. And of course, George Reeves and Kirk Allen were from a completely different period altogether. So they're very those two are very much like, good day, citizen. I'm here to save you. Which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's extremely dated. But there's some enjoyment to have from that. They're appropriate for the time periods. Like you read the comic books from that time period, they're extremely accurate as far as the character portrayal. And then of course there's the newer Superman, Henry Cavill. No, I didn't forget about Brandon Routh. Brandon Routh. Brandon Routh was okay. I think the problem was he didn't get to really portray his own version of the Man of Steel. He was sort of the thing is with Superman Returns is that it was meant to be a sequel to Superman 2, and I think it would have been better if it had been something that had been kind of its own. Like, sure, you could have still gone with the plot of him returning to Earth, but I think literally filling in the boots of Christopher Reeve was a big mistake, and I don't think it's his fault that his version of the character was just kind of boring because you can't recapture that magic with somebody else, and hence why Henry Cavill's version works is because it's not. I'm not saying it's a departure from the character. It's like Dean Cain's version of Superman is different, but both similar to Chris Reeves, as Chris Reeves is similar and different to George Reeves. So Henry Cavill's version is obviously very different, but keeping in the same ideals. Like as long as you keep the character who he is at his core, then it's okay to have to take a little bit of a different spin on it. So Henry Cavill, I think I'd always wondered as a kid, I'd always wondered what it would be like if Superman were real. I think when Zack Snyder made Man of Steel, and even more so at Batman versus Superman, that brought the realism out. Where how would the world react if Superman weren't a fictional character? If he were actually real? I think I think I know a lot of people have problems with Dawn of Justice, but I think that they handled I think they handled that in a way to where it was so kind of real, and that's where it hit me so hard because I was like, this is what I've thought about literally since I was a kid. Was that if Superman were real, half the world would be afraid of him. Everybody knows this. I mean, just just look at how the media is. They twist and they turn things. It's like at the very beginning of the movie, Superman gets involved in this firefight, and then he's blamed for people who are killed, and everybody's saying, well, "This is that doesn't make any sense." And I'm like, "This makes perfect sense. It doesn't matter if Superman uses guns or not. The media can twist the whole, hey, wherever he shows up, he died, and people can and they'll play. They would have played to that, and that absolutely would have happened. I guarantee it. I mean, it's it's unbelievable. I mean, they totally captured the whole what if Superman were real. I think Dawn of Justice and Man of Steel capture that perfectly, and I think that's why it's so split because people are very used and comfortable with the idea of Superman being this ultimate hero, but it's a new version and sort of a retelling, but it doesn't completely departure. It's not like they made Superman into some sort of murderous freak. He's still, I think, Superman was perfectly explained in one quote in Dawn of Justice. There's a reporter or a news guy or somebody says uh, Superman is basically just a guy trying to do the right thing. Maybe he's just a guy trying to do the right thing, and that's the way that I've always seen Clark, Superman, Kal-el. He's just a guy trying to do the right thing. He's not a god. He's not. Yes, he's an alien, but he's not a free. He's not somebody that we can relate to. I mean, I think people that at their core, uh, Superman represents who we are when we're at our best. And if we were given these powers, I think I'd like to think that most humanity would want to use these powers for good. And that's basically who Superman is. He's the guy that tries to use his gifts for the right thing. Uh, just like anybody else, if you have the opportunity to do the right thing, I believe that most people will do it, and that's who Superman is. He is that guy that has the opportunity to do some good, and that's what's always resonated with me about the character. And he's he's been huge influence in my life. I like I said, I was very contained and very dark kid. There are not a lot of pictures of me smiling, and when I started growing up, it's funny when most people start growing up, they get darker and they get more cynical. But I went the complete opposite way, and I'm still growing. Even at the age of 24, I'm I'm still growing as an individual. I think it'll always be the case until the day I croak. But I think Superman has had a big impact on my life. He he has shown me the good in myself and in others. So I love that character. He's such a fantastic character, and there's a reason that he was the first, and then there's a reason that he's sort of uh, influenced all these other characters. So I get it. Batman's the badass, and I love him too. But Superman will always be my favorite. That's why I've got a tattoo of his symbol on my back. And no, I'm not showing that. It's not that type of YouTube video. But yeah, as a writer, I think he's influenced me not so much as a writer, really, but maybe there'll be a Superman type character in one of my books. Who knows? But yeah, so that's the end of my Superman rant. Again, I just wanted to talk about something a little bit different. I hope you enjoyed it. hope maybe if you didn't like Superman before, I hope maybe it pushed you in the right direction. Be like, maybe I should try the original first two movies. Like, you like superhero movies or just good movies in general, I think Richard Donner's vision and Chris Reeve's vision of what Superman stood for and who he is really came out in Superman 1 and 2. So check out those movies, even if you don't like comic book movies. I think there's a certain finesse and style to it that can appeal to everybody. I've never really met anybody that said they hated the first two. Um, I it, Plus it kind of set the bar for so many superhero movies to follow. I mean, casting a nobody for the lead role was very ballsy, and that's almost always the way it's been done since then. I mean, who really knew about Christian Bale before he played Batman? I mean, I know he was in Equilibrium and Reign of Fire, but he wasn't as big of a name as he is now, and neither was Hugh Jackman when he played Wolverine. So yeah, Superman, he is super. Again, I hope you can enjoy it. You can join me at the convention in Belfast. If not, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Either way, follow me on Twitter and look out for other future YouTube videos. Peace out.